What's up, family? Man, it's cold. It is what it is, man. It's a beautiful morning out. Man, I want to talk to you guys about a couple things, all right? Um, when I was a kid, my aunt who raised me, her favorite color was green, you know? And I never understood that, never asked her, I just knew she liked green. And so as a kid, I learned to despise green. Stay with me, I'm going somewhere. And what I mean by that, I didn't like green because I didn't like her. you know, I despised and detested the color green because she liked green. And I didn't understand that as a kid. You know what I mean? And I never even thought about it. I just knew that I didn't like green. And I couldn't tell you why I didn't like green, you know? Now that I'm older, I know that I didn't like green because of her. I detested the color green because of her. Stay with me, I'm going somewhere. Because I associated the color green with her. She was religiously fanatical. Man, everything was a sin. She was verbally, physically abusive, emotionally abusive. You know what I mean? And so, man, I associated green with negativity. I associated green with drama. I associated green with her. You know what I mean? And I wanted no parts of green. I got on my green earrings. Actually, these are emeralds. And so, and green is now my second favorite color. Green is not my second favorite color because of her. You know what I mean? 2016, I found myself in China, and I was studying in one of the Shaolin temples. And my instructor, my Sifu, was going to give me a name, a Chinese name, And so I had my two translators, my brothers, one's from United Kingdom, and my brother Dimitri from Chicago. They were there, and everywhere I went in China, one of them was with me, and they was my translator. You know what I mean? But they were also my big brothers. You know what I mean? These guys have spent 30 some odd years studying Kung Fu. They were top of the game. You know what I mean? And so, although I was the oldest, I was the little brother. You know what I mean? And so we're sitting there, and the instructor he had been thinking about it for 4 days. Stay with me, I'm going somewhere. He had been thinking about a name for me for 4 days, a Chinese name. And he gotten down to 4 names. And he couldn't decide between the 4 names which name I was supposed to have, which name fit me. And we're sitting out on the deck, and he was talking to me about the names. And Dimitri and Josh were right there with me. And everything that he was saying, Dimitri was translating for me. And so I'm sitting there just honored, just humbled, that my Sifu is about to give me this Chinese name. You know what I mean? And it's like, man, I can't wait to hear it. I can't wait to see what this man has to say. You know what I mean? And so I had on a black Kung Fu shirt, and this black butterfly had landed on my side. Stay with me, I'm going somewhere. I've never had a butterfly land on me, ever, up to that time frame, and haven't had one land on me since. You know what I mean? And so I didn't even know the butterfly was there. Dimitri looked over and saw the butterfly, and he told me, "Hey, be still, don't move." And I was like, "Why? What's going on?" And he said, "Man, there's a butterfly on your side." And so I looked down, and I started smiling. It was so beautiful. It was a beautiful butterfly. You know what I mean? And I was just taken back by that. You know what I mean? Stay with me. My wife had just passed shortly before that. You know what I mean? And so whenever I saw butterflies, it was always like her or my mom coming to me and letting me know that, hey, you're not alone. You know what I mean? And every time I see butterflies, that's what I think of. Either Cecilia or my mom coming to me is like, hey, we're with you. I'm with you. I got you. And so I'm sitting there and I'm smiling. And my chief was like, asking what are we talking about? And so Dimitri tells him, hey, there's a butterfly on his side. And my seafood was like, see, and he's like, see means yes in Chinese. And he's like, he's telling me that's it. That's the sign. And I didn't understand what he was saying. And so he explained that the name, one of the names, had a butterfly character in it. And so he knew that was the sign that he was looking for, when he saw the butterfly on my side. That was the omen, that was the synchronicity that he had been looking for to determine what my name was going to be, And so the name that he gave me was Lu Wen, and it means green destiny. Stay with me, I'm going somewhere. Lu Wen means green destiny, and it means that I'm going to help people come back to nature. I'm going to help people find their purpose, and it's like this instructor, my seafood, man, he really didn't know too much about me. He didn't know that this was my passion. He didn't know that, man, this was the love of my life was helping people, he didn't know all of this about me, and for him to understand that, man, for him to get the name Lu Wen from God, from source, whatever you want to call it, and that name be given to me because of a butterfly on my side. And he understands that, man, the synchronicity of it, he understands the sign of it, And so when we talk about synchronicities are just signs from God. Synchronicities are just signs that, hey, you're on the right path. Hey, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're right where you're supposed to be at. Stop tripping, stop wigging out. You're good. You're right where you're supposed to be at. When we can recognize those signs, man, that shows us that, man, we're in alignment with God at that particular moment. And so synchronicities are always around us. And synchronicities is just signs from God, signs from loved ones, that they're there, But we're not paying attention. For the most part, we're so preoccupied with what we got going on. We're so preoccupied with our own drama and issues. We're so preoccupied with sports and entertainment and all these other distractions in life that we miss all of the synchronicities. We miss all of the signs. Signs are around us all the time, but we're not mindful of them. We're not paying attention to them. And so when he told me the name and he told me what the name meant, man, all I could do was start smiling, because I understood at that moment, it hit me like a brick, You despised green so much. You hated green so much because of what you thought it represented, because of that person who liked green. Stay with me. I'm going somewhere. So often, family, in our lives, we talk about wanting to understand our purpose and why am I here and why this and whoop and who am I, blah, blah, blah. And so often in our life, in our childhood, it's our family, it's our friends and those around us that give us signs. But because of our issues, because of our unresolved issues, we misunderstand the sign. You know what I mean? We take the sign as, I ain't got nothing to do with this. I don't want nothing to do with this. I don't like y'all. I don't love y'all. Don't want to be around y'all. I hate me. I suck. I'm this and that. I'm stupid. I'm not going to amount to nothing. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not lovable. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? We misunderstand the signs. And we take the signs, we take the signs as validation that we suck. We take the signs as confirmation that we ain't nobody. We're not going to amount to anything. We're not lovable and all this other foolishness, right? Because we misunderstood the sign, because we wasn't in alignment. This is why I talk so much about meditating. about being in alignment with God, source, chi, universe, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? This is why I talk about being in alignment, so that you can recognize the signs, because they're all around us all the time. And when you don't recognize the signs, you completely miss it. The late Dr. Miles Monroe stated, where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. Said again, where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. When you don't know the purpose of this sign, you'll abuse it. When you don't know the purpose of this omen right here, you'll abuse it and you'll misunderstand it and you'll do something that you're not supposed to. Family, I'm kind of hyped right now. We have to understand that, man, slow down. Slow down. It's all good. It's all good. For some reason, we get in our minds, man, we're running this race and we have to be on full throttle all the way through. And it's like, man, relax. 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 You're not in a race. No one's going to win your prize. No one's going to beat you. You're not in a competition. Relax. It's all good. You're right where you're supposed to be at. I don't care how much time you think you squandered. I don't care how much time you feel as though you've wasted. You're right where you're supposed to be at. I'm looking for something. Something circle. Use the bottom of this can, just so you can see. I was in Guam, in the Air Force at the time, and I was having a heart-to-heart with God. And God showed me this crystal clear, you know what I mean? And it was just like mind-boggling when I saw this. This was like 93, 94 when he gave me this revelation. And so this is you right on the end of this canister, right? On this circle, right? This is you on the circle. God's telling you to go from here to here. He wants you to get over here, all right? This is your destination. This is where you're at. This is where you're supposed to end up. This is where you're at. And the great majority of us, talk about me, because I didn't understand God, because I didn't like God, and because I had issues with God at the time, it's like, man, you ain't telling me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Just because you told me to go from here to here, man, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go the complete opposite direction. And so what I did in my logic, man, God, I'm on a circle, but I wasn't aware of that, right? So God got me right here. He wants me to get to over here. In my hard-headed, arrogant, egotistical way, I'm like, man, bunk that. I'm going to go the complete opposite direction. And so me, in all my logic and infinite wisdom, I thought, I go from here all the way around. And I still ended up right here. I still got right here. And so God was showing me that. He's like, Elijah, you went the long way. You went the way that I thought you would go. You went the way I wanted you to go. I never told you how to get there. I just told you, I showed you where you were at, and I told you where you needed to get to. You thought that you had to go from here to here. And so many of us, we get caught up thinking we got to take the shortcut. So many of us think we got to take the most direct path. You know what I mean? And if we don't take the most direct path, then we wasted time. We wasted time with all this stuff. You know what I mean? I'm 40 years old. I'm 50 years old. I'm 30 years old. Never been married. Don't have no kids, man. My clock is ticking. You know, we hear all that. You know what I mean? But what God was showing me was, man, Elijah, my purpose was for you to go from here the way that you went, all the way around. I wanted you to go that way. I needed you to go that way. Why? Because it was the journey. Why? Because there's lessons that you need to experience. There's lessons you need to learn. There was experiences that you need to have. And you wouldn't have gotten those experiences. You wouldn't have had those lessons had you went from here straight to here. But because you went the long way, the way that you needed to go, look at the lessons you learned. Look at the wisdom you've gained. Look at the knowledge you have. You thought you go in the opposite direction from what I wanted you to do. You thought I want you to do. You thought you were being hard-headed. You thought that you were being rebellious. You thought you were doing your own thing, never realizing you were on the path that you were supposed to be on. You were supposed to go through all that you went through. You were supposed to experience all that you experienced. Why? So that you could gain the knowledge and the wisdom and insight that you have. You couldn't have gotten that any other way. Family, you are where you're supposed to be at. You're not wasting time. You haven't wasted time. It's divine timing. It's divine timing. When you get that understanding, when you truly grasp that, man, you can have such peace. You can have such joy knowing that, man, God's got me. I'm right where I'm supposed to be at. No matter what happens, I'm good. I'm good. You know what I mean? Everything is supposed to teach us something. Everything is supposed to give us a greater awareness of something. Pay attention to the signs. Pay attention to the signs. And while you're paying attention to the signs, make sure that you're connected. Make sure that you're in alignment with God so that you can recognize the signs for what they really are. Just because a lady walk up to you and she may look good and she may want to be your friend, don't mean that you're supposed to be hitting that. You know what I mean? Just because a dude looks at you and he opens the door and he's nice and muscular and look good and whoop-de-whoop, don't mean that, man, he's attracted to you. Don't mean that he wants you. Just because a man has been nice to you, don't mean he's trying to sleep with you. You know what I mean? We have to learn to pay attention to the signs. But while paying attention to the signs, make sure that we're connected so that we're not misunderstanding the signs. Where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. I took the sign of my aunt liking green, and it made me despise it. It made me hate the color green. Because I was not in alignment. I was not connected to God like I should have been. And I misread the sign. Now that I'm connected to God, now that I'm in alignment with God, man, I understand the purpose of green. You know what I mean? In my life, the significance of green. And it took a Chinese Kung Fu instructor in China to show me that. Pay attention to the signs. They're all around you. You are where you're supposed to be at. And it's all good. Happy healing. I love you guys. Peace.